Hi, YouTube fans. This is Matt of Post April 6th YouTube channel. Here we go with part 3. And I'm going to have to warn you. There's two major health scares that happened. One is major and one is major. But let's start out on the positive. I'll talk about my birthday. July 13th, 2009, on my 36th birthday, my dad called and said he could not drive down to Denver. He was having bad chest pain. He stated that on a scale of 1 to 10, it was definitely a 10. And that was a disappointment, but I went to go see my friend Tom, and we went to go see a movie at Regal 10 Cinemas. February 22nd, 2010. Now this one is pretty serious, but it's not anywhere near as serious as what happens in 2011. I woke up with bad chest pain, and I was seeing spots constantly. And I had ringing in my ears. Then I called Denver Health Medical Center about indigent care. And the call got disconnected with the transfer to indigent care specialist. So I called Swedish Hospital, and 20 to 30 minutes later, a woman called me back and stated I was eligible for indigent care and that I could check into an emergency room. Well, once I took Route 35 bus, I got to Swedish Hospital, and after I entered, well, let me say that again. And I got to Swedish, and after I was screened to enter, I had my blood pressure taken, and my blood pressure was a shock. Because see, the little part that they do the blood pressure test and the body temperature, it's called a triage. Okay, my blood pressure was a shock. It was 203 over 128, and the pulse rate was 114. Yes, that's pretty serious. I didn't have a heart attack, but I was probably this close to having one. That's not good at all. Okay, then I was escorted to a private emergency room. Then after a series of different treatments, and the doctor gave me a diagnosis that I suffered from hypertension, I was advised that I must take a Tylenol 25 milligrams every day. Well, after a chest x-ray and a stress test, I was released at 11:30 p.m. March 17th, 2010. My father had double bypass open heart surgery. He was suffering from serious chest pain. The surgery helped improve his health of his heart a lot. Thanksgiving of 2010. I celebrated Thanksgiving at Cousin Julie's home in Greenwich Village, because this place that I went to, this was a new house to her, because the one I went to before in Thanksgiving was at an area that was about probably at least 8 to 10 miles apart from Greenwich Village, because Greenwich Village is not very far from me, and the house she had before was in rural Douglas County, I believe. Okay, so back to my timeline. Christmas of 2010. It was my 8th visit to Pueblo just to celebrate Christmas. And one of the nice gifts I got was a blood pressure monitor machine as a Christmas gift. New Year's Day of 2011. I celebrated a New Year's brunch at the Marriott Hotel's banquet hall, because this is something I did as part of a company gathering. Tamarack Square Ace Hardware. And then I went to Tamarack Ace Hardware from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then I came home for the day. This is after 6 p.m. after the store closed. March 9th to 12th of 2011. This is a period of, I paused to count this, 4 days. I was on vacation in San Francisco again. I stayed at the La Quinta Inn in South San Francisco a second time. And I toured parts of San Francisco / East Bays / Northern California too. I took a special bus tour that took me to see cities further south than San Francisco East Bay, and I saw cities like Gilroy, Monterey, Carmel, and the Scenic Mile. I said the Scenic Route, but it's actually the Scenic Mile, which is very beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful houses to look at and palm trees and golf courses nearby, all kinds of good stuff. And I had dinner with a friend of mine who is a chiropractor and who is a knowledgeable nutritionist. This was at San Leandro. This wasn't part of the bus tour. Okay, what I'm going to talk about next is really scary. It was the day I nearly lost my life. April 6th of 2011. After my 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. close shift ended at Tamarack Square Ace Hardware, I walked across the parking lot of Tamarack Square Indoor Mall, now Tamarack Square Shopping Center, with a Super Target store. Well, after I reached the intersection of South Tamarack Drive and East Hamden, I waited for a walk signal so I could walk across Hamden. Then I walked down South Tamarack about 50 to 75 feet away from the blind spot. Because see, the blind spot is a little bit past where the intersections meet like this, and it's right about here, and it's a traffic control junction box. That's a blind spot. On the opposite side of the opposite side of Tamarack and Hamden, I cautiously began to walk across Tamarack so I could proceed to walk home to the 9600 block of East Girard. And I arrive home at the Glen Apartments, now called Gramercy Apartment Homes. I all of a sudden see a white car. Then I began to run as fast as I can to get off Tamarack Drive. Well, the next thing I know, I am flying through the air faster than a Mach 4 military jet. And after there was darkness, and 1/15 of a second later, it was more like a little more than a half a second later actually, there was the faint sound of thump, and there was total darkness and silence. Here is why all of this occurred. I was the victim of an auto-pedestrian accident. Wednesday, April 6, 2011. I was hit by a car that was driving 30 miles per hour. Here is what I found out several months later. I was hit in both legs by the bumper of a white Nissan Maxima 2001 model. That was probably driving 30 to 30 miles per hour. After I was initially hit, My head slammed into the windshield, causing me to become unconscious instantly and in a deep concussion. Then I flew over the top of the car. I bumped my head on the rear windshield, causing me to start bleeding really badly. And I rolled around on the trunk of the car and then rolled on asphalt concrete, culminating with me lying on the ground face down, and a 185 pair of prescription eyeglasses were destroyed beyond repair, as well as a silver Flexiband Timex wristwatch. The woman who hit me immediately called 911 or Denver police instead of, no, wait a minute, let me say that again, and insisted an ambulance come to the scene and take me to an emergency room. At the time of the night when this happened was between 8:10 p.m. and 8:15 p.m. And 3 to 5 minutes later, I was rushed away by paramedics in a Denver Health Center ambulance. The location of the emergency room was on 77 North Bannock Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. I shouldn't have said that zip code, but what are they going to do? They're not going to, I don't think I'm going to get cited for that, but anyways, I'll keep going here. That emergency room was the best one to be taken to. Those emergency room specialists are one of the best places to be to get effective treatment for severe head trauma. I remained in that emergency room until at least 12:15 a.m. April 7th, 2011. After that, I was escorted up to the intensive care unit of the 3rd floor. I went through a whole lot. I had brain surgery 3 to 5 times in 1 week. Actually, it's more like 2. I shouldn't have said 3. On April 9th or 10th, actually, I need to correct that. It was somewhere between April 7th and April 8th, more than likely. I had emergency surgery a few minutes before, actually it was more like a few minutes after. A few minutes after, I had a cerebral brain hemorrhage. I put my then 66-year-old father through too much, and at the time he was full of sorrow for these reasons. 1, it was only 1 year after he had double bypass open heart surgery. 2, my stepmother, a few days before, had been diagnosed with cancer. And on her 69th birthday, she had a special surgery that I'm not allowed to talk about. Here is one of the pieces of information that I have a strong hunch is an actual fact. It is about a pet cat that I owned at the time. A white female cat named Penguin was experiencing. More than a couple of hours after I was hit. Actually, I shouldn't have said it that way. It was probably more like 3 to 4 hours after I was hit. It was somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. that she most likely experienced this. In fact, here I typed up something that makes it more clear, that just backs up what I just said. Well, sometime after 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. of April 7th, she became frantic and got hysterical and meowed and cried hard because she knew what happened to me. And if there was ever a movie about what happened to me, here is the acting would be overdubbed by a great female actress. as she meowed and cried so frantically. Oh man, I hope you don't die. I hope you can get out of the hospital in a couple of weeks. Where's Grandpa? Where's Grandpa? Where's Grandpa? I hope he gets here soon. I can't feed myself because I can't get to the cat food in the pantry. A man who loved me so much could die. My life is ruined. After that, the female actress would cry really hard. And then the camera view would zoom back to show how my apartment unit would actually look from the outside and being able to see the view from the outer picture window looking inward. Well, after I was placed in ICU, my father, after he and Mary Rose drove 115 miles to come see me, because see, what I'm about to say, this is true. I've checked this at least 4 times in Google Maps. The distance from his house in Pueblo to 777 North Bannock Street is exactly 115 miles. He was able to visit with me, and less than a minute after he sees me laying on the bed with gauze bandage stuffed in both ears and lots of scars on my face, and both my legs were badly bruised. I really shouldn't say these words when I'm going to say it. He probably starts to cry really hard. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward about 2-3 weeks. Okay, on April 24th, 25th, 26th, or 28th. Well, I remained in an induced coma for 2 to 3 weeks until late April of 2011. After I wake up out of a coma, I feel the staples in the back of my head. The staples go from the left side of my head all the way to the right, at an angle about like this on the back of my head. Then I feel the side of my head using both hands. I feel gauze bandage and a brace underneath the gauze bandage. The brace was a halo brace. It was wrapped around tight like this, or fairly tight. I feel the top of my head because I was feeling about like this, and my head felt soft. The softness was because the cap of my skull was surgically removed and stored away somewhere to deal with brain swelling, and it was also to heal the parietal skull fracture. See? Then I felt my face, and I noticed the ventilator tube because it was sticking out like this. And below the chin, I feel a tracheotomy tube. It's sticking out right about here. And then I feel my belly, and it was sticking out right in this area, right about here. And I had a bulge. I sat up and looked around. The entire room, and I was moving my head around about like this. Until I was tired of moving my head around and let my head drop. After I let my head drop, it seemed like a jug of water because I dropped my head about like this to let it rest. So I remained inside Denver Health Medical Center Hospital altogether for 11 weeks. I was not released until June 24, 2011. My father came to visit me twice a week. After I was no longer comatose, and then then he removed most of my personal belongings from a 440 square foot studio apartment located at the Glen, but he did not bring with him these items, which is a hide-a-bed couch, a 5-tier bookshelf, a lavish computer desk, and a few other furniture pieces. He got the cat out of my house within 24 hours because on April 7th, sometime in the afternoon, he came to get Penguin out of there, and he put her in a cat carrier box and he brought her to his house. So he got the cat out of my house within 24 hours, like I've already said, and took her to his house and took good care of her. While I was hospitalized, aside from the surgeries, I had these treatments. I had CAT scans 10 to 14 times, an MRI 6 to 10 times, an X-ray 3 to 4 times, an ultrasound 1 to 2 times, an EEG test 5 to 6 times, and an EKG probably at least 7 times. I said 5, but it's more like 7. And blood dialysis over 4 times. June 24th to December 19th, 2011. The saga continues. So when I was released and I went to Pueblo, Colorado and lived with my father, he was sure glad to see me alive and to help him clean up 4 different vacant homes. From late June to mid-November of 2011, about December 7th, me and Dad drove to, actually he did all the driving. Me and Dad drove to the Denver metro area near Arapahoe Community College in old downtown Littleton to have a meeting with my personal injury attorney, and my attorney had been working on getting a financial settlement since about May of 2011, because what this means is he came to personally visit me in the hospital, the attorney did. That's how he got initiated and went full speed ahead with this personal injury case. To take legal action against the woman who hit me and nearly caused me to die. So he finally persuaded the defendant to agree to settle out of court for $100,000. This settlement paid a lot of bills. My hospital bill was over $900,000, meaning nearly $1 million. Right after the visit, me and Dad took a drive to Cobblestone Hill Apartments, now named The Croft. After I viewed an apartment on the 2nd floor, I took a rental application with me, and after I got home and got Dad to agree to co-sign for an apartment, I faxed the application to the apartment complex. And a few days later, I was phoned and I was told that I was approved for an apartment. December 19th, 2011. This in itself is a major turning point. I moved back to Denver. Me and Penguin the cat had a new place to live. My dad drove me to the new apartment home with a pickup bed full of lots of items. On January 26th or 27th of 2012, I adopted a second cat, a female tuxedo cat that was half white, half black, that I named MILKSHAKE. Like, you know, the ice cream treat, MILKSHAKE. February 20th, 2012. Now this one is where something really good happens, but I got a call from my brother, and it was quite upsetting about something that happened to someone. As I was in the middle of completing a vacation package deal online to take a trip to Los Angeles and stay at a travel inn at a section of Los Angeles called Los Feliz, LA Hollywood, I got a call from my brother. He informed me that Michelle Bickford, and I put in parentheses 1958 to 2012 because she died at the age of 53, died in a hospice care facility due to suffering from liver failure. She was only 53 years old. Yes, she died in Almonte Springs, Florida. That's where the hospice was. She lived in Orlando until she died. February 28th, 2012 to March 3rd or 4th. I vacationed in Los Angeles and hung out at Disneyland for a day, because this was the 29th, roughly. Yeah, it actually was the 29th. I toured Wilshire Boulevard in Santa Monica and bought a nice Grency freehand briar pipe that was made in Italy at an old 1920s era tobacco shop named the Original Tinderbox. And during my entire visit, I got to do many fun things. March 17th, 2012, I spent the night at National Jewish Hospital in order to do a sleep test. The results of the sleep test, this was advised by a physician. He told me the results. It meant that I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. April 26, 2012. I was granted a Philips Respironics pulmonary CPAP kit to help me sleep better at night. Later on that afternoon, I made a deposit at Chase Bank on South Colorado Boulevard in the U Hills neighborhood. I fainted and went into convulsions. It was a grand mal seizure. I had a grand mal seizure. I was taken away by paramedics and got treatment at Swedish Hospital. Well, that's it for 2012. Stay tuned for part 4. Thank you very much. Goodbye now. I hope you visit my other videos that I've uploaded onto my YouTube channel post April 6th. Thank you.